Welcome to Weight Loss and Wellness for Real, the podcast where people like you get the practical solutions and support you need to permanently lose the physical and mental weight so you can feel better and live the life you want in the body and mind you want. If you're looking to overcome your stress eating, overeating, binging behaviors, and move to a place of freedom with food and your body, you're in the right place. Just a reminder that this podcast represents my own opinions. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for educational and informational purposes only. Please consult your doctor or healthcare professional for any individual medical questions you may have. And just one other thing I wanted to throw in here to make sure you head over to my website to sign up for my free monthly newsletter. If you head over to HeatherHeynen, HEYNEN.com, and basically go to any page on that website and scroll way to the bottom, there will be a box where you can enter your email so that you will receive my monthly newsletter. It's free. It's on all things well-being. I always have in that newsletter just tips and tricks for all things well-being, as well as usually a recipe and some discount codes on products that I like. But I wanted to put this in now to remind you to do it now because the next newsletter that will come out will be in November. And it is going to be on all things tips and tricks, how to make it through the holidays without gaining weight, being able to maybe even lose a few pounds while still enjoying all the things of the holidays that you love. So make sure you head over to my website, HeatherHeynen.com, scroll to the bottom of any page, enter your email. By the way, I never share your email with anyone. And then you'll make sure that you receive that newsletter that will be coming out in November. Hello, everyone. I am so glad you are here sharing this space with me today. When it comes to building optimal health, including losing weight and keeping it off for good, there is one way that works and works in a sustainable way, and that is really approaching it from a holistic perspective. And a holistic approach or perspective to weight loss really takes into account nutrition and fitness, but it includes so much more. And this so much more is really what helps us figure out how to actually engage in new food and fitness behaviors and habits that feel doable and sustainable for life. A holistic approach to weight loss is comprehensive, and it's also unique to each individual because remember, we are all unique, and what works for one person will not necessarily work for you. So using a holistic approach really helps to flesh out what is going to be unique about what's going to work for you because you are so unique. So take a listen and learn more about my personal holistic approach that I use with myself as well as with my clients when it comes to optimal health and well-being. I really conceptualize holistic health as 4 components, and I describe these as physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So my approach with my weight loss clients and as well as my mental health therapy clients is to really first meet clients where they are at and then over some time partner with them to really optimize all 4 components of the self: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And by the way, just a little caveat here, sometimes people really resist that spiritual word when I say it. And I just want to offer that spiritual aspect of the self really encompasses so many different possibilities there. It absolutely can include your spiritual and religious belief system, your faith, and for some of you, it's not going to be a specific religious belief system or a faith system, but more about what brings meaning to your life and whatever that source or energy is that you can sense maybe at some point when we do some work that is bigger than you. My point is that spiritual aspect for each individual comes out in different ways. So if you have issues, which many people do with religiosity, recognize that is not what our spiritual aspect is necessarily all about as I'm talking about it. Okay, so back to the 4 components of holistic health. Examples in my mental health practice would be things like, yes, I'm giving clients therapy to help heal mental and emotional aspects, but I'm also working in suggestions for nourishing foods, for physical nourishment, for hydration suggestions, movement practices, how to get real or sunlight versus blue light, how to shift that ratio, and how to start these things as habits. And if it's a weight loss client, we are obviously going to either initially or at least after we work on some other things, we're going to obviously look at the physical aspects of weight loss, foods, nourishment, movement, etc. But we're going to also hit the emotional, mental, and spiritual aspects at some point through different strategies that I use. It might be in things like reflections back and forth between me and my client. It might be through journaling prompts. It might be through phone sessions. It might be through lots of writing. My point is that all 4 components really need to be addressed in order to live a more joyful, freeing, meaningful, purposeful life in the body that you want to be living that in. So healing any ailment in any of the 4 components, so physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, will always require healing work in all 4 components. That's that holistic belief system, that holistic approach. That is what brings the permanence to the changes we want to make in our lives. And this includes weight loss, living in that healthy body for life. So because we are in this particular podcast focused on permanent weight loss and or finding that, freeing relationship with food, ending binge eating and overeating, we're looking for finding that freeing relationship with our body. Let's stay focused on this aspect and talk about how all 4 components of the self can contribute to weight gain and or that inability to lose weight and keep it off, that inability to live in the body composition that you want to be living in. The first example that comes to my mind is how diet mentality, so I have that in quotation marks in my head here, diet mentality actually increases weight over time. So if you find yourself in diet mentality, this is where you see or define foods as good or bad, or you think in ways like, yay, I stayed on my plan today, or, oh no, I'm a terrible person because I didn't follow my plan and, I overate, or whatever it is. Or could be that you have a belief that, you must cut out specific food groups to lose weight, or that you have to eat certain foods you don't like to lose weight, or that you have to work out hard for an hour every day. Things like this are considered diet mentality. They're typically things, if you've been going at this for a while, typically things that you just find within diet culture. And so you've sort of incorporated this diet mentality, the way you think about your body, about losing weight, about food. Holistic weight loss means freeing yourself from this sort of thinking so you can get out of that black and white, really difficult thinking about food, about your body that really sabotages long-term weight loss, long-term health. And we want to get out of that so that you can lose the weight for good. So this is some mental and emotional and often spiritual work that needs to be done. The goal is to find a process of losing weight and being healthy, eating nourishing foods that is never painful, but that becomes an exciting, enjoyable journey of sort of discovering ways that feel really good losing weight. A holistic approach also will help you uncover the reasons why you might be overweight or not at a weight you are comfortable with, why you can't change your habit of emotional eating or binge eating, or maybe even your habit of restricting and then overeating. So uncovering these reasons through emotional, mental, spiritual work gives awareness and insight at a much deeper level of the self. And this points to that extra weight. That inability to lose the extra weight itself is simply a symptom of something deeper going on. And when we figure this out, like what might be going on deeper, and there is clarity and understanding of why you are using food to self-soothe or why you are overeating or having binge eating episodes, we can then start to work on that component. And by healing that component, the eating behaviors start to shift on their own. So things like cravings, the urge to binge or overeat starts to really chill out a bit and over time dissipate. Here are just a few examples. Oh, by the way, I want to just say about what I just talked about. This does not mean that if you are overweight or not in the body you want to be in, that you are carrying around some deep, dark secret, or that you've necessarily been traumatized. I mean, often there is trauma involved, but that is definitely not everyone. Sometimes there are just pretty benign things that went on, and often it is in childhood, but not always, but can be really benign things, just messages we sort of received as kids, whether through our family system or our school system, our church system, our community system. It could just be culture influencing us. But yet these, kind of, when I say benign, I'm just saying maybe not necessarily a major or minor trauma, but these benign things, these messages that sort of get programmed in are often the things that they're almost habits of thought, feelings, sensations, just habits that get programmed in. And now we eat or we overeat or we overdrink or whatever the thing is due to those sort of pre-programmed thoughts, feelings, sensations. And so figuring out what those are and having awareness of that is what really helps the eating behaviors, the overeating behaviors, the binging behaviors, the restrictive behaviors really start to calm down. So it can be, if you want to call it big T trauma stuff, little T trauma stuff, complex trauma stuff. And it can also be what I would say are just more benign programming sort of things. And so now we're in these habit, thoughts, feelings, sensations that drive the different eating behaviors. Okay, so here are just a few examples, and there are so many more of how each aspect of ourselves, the four components, emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical. Here are some examples of how each aspect can influence weight gain or that inability to lose weight and keep it off for good, or set us up for these very unhealthy relationships with food, with our bodies. So emotionally, one aspect, we might not know how to feel hard or uncomfortable feelings. And so we use food to distract from them, to soothe from them, or just to shift our state, our emotional state momentarily. So emotionally, we might not be great at tolerating emotions. We just haven't learned that skill yet. Mentally, that aspect. So mentally, maybe we're overthinkers. And so due to the excess of thoughts, anxiety sensations are created in the body. And so to relax those awful tension feelings, sensations that come from anxiety, we overeat or overdrink or binge eat in order to flip our system into the parasympathetic system, where we are able to rest and digest and relax. Spiritually, that component, we might have this feeling, this sense of being lost or having no meaning in life. We might have some existential things going on, feel like we don't have a purpose. And so we try to fill this emptiness, or, I call it the hole in our soul, with food. We use food and often alcohol or maybe gambling or shopping or sex or whatever the thing is. We use these things to try to fill that spiritual empty space. Physically, that component, we may not be getting enough sleep. We may not be hydrating enough to optimize cell function, or maybe we aren't getting enough protein for our body's needs. Maybe we have some underlying inflammation going on, all which make us feel low physical energy. And so our brain throws up signals to eat, get some energy. So now we overeat for what our body needs, or what we do eat doesn't get burned in the way it should, and so it gets stored. Okay, so when you look at losing weight and keeping it off for good, we must hit all 4 of these components of ourselves. All 4 aspects contribute to weight gain, inability to lose weight and or keep it off. These 4 components all contribute to, you might not have weight to lose, but you might be dealing with excessive thoughts around food and body, anxiety around your food relationship and body relationship. All 4 components contribute to an unhealthy relationship with food, an unhealthy relationship with our bodies, and an unhealthy relationship with ourselves. If you are thinking about wanting to lose weight for good, or maybe it's to find a healthier relationship with food, maybe it's so that you're not always thinking about food and your body, you want a healthier relationship with your body, you want to feel more free and more authentic, and you want to be able to accept yourself, or maybe you're looking to stop the binge eating behaviors or the restrict binge cycle or the restrict purge cycle. It's really important to find a plan that is holistic, an approach that is holistic and touches on healing in all 4 aspects of ourselves: the emotional, mental, spiritual, not just the physical. Okay, so thanks for listening. Let me know what you think about this episode. Give me comments or thoughts by getting in touch through my website at heatherheynen.com. And Heynen is spelled Heynen. You can also follow me on Instagram at Heynen Counseling and Coaching. So Heynen, Counseling and Coaching. And leave comments there. If you feel you are finding value from this podcast, please leave a review or hit the 5-star button from the platform you're listening to. Just those little things. I know it takes a moment, but those things really, really help other people find the podcast. It changes the algorithm. So when people are searching for things, this podcast will pop up more often. The more reviews it has, the more stars that it has. So if you're willing to take a couple moments, if you're finding value from this podcast, to do those things, that would be such a great way to support the podcast. And all of that helps me to keep these episodes rolling out every week. Thank you again for being here, and we will talk soon. Did you know you can find a lot more help from me on my website? Go to heatherheynen.com. Heynen is spelled Heynen, and get in touch with questions on all things I offer, like online courses for overeating, weight loss, goal attainment, and also my coaching and counseling services.